Well, hello everyone. I'm Frank Fear, your host. You're on Mountaineer Locker Room. We're so pleased to see you Wednesday night. Uh, Greg Christ is not with us yet. We hope that he'll join us later. And for those of you who watch on the New River Network, there's been a major power issue in the Fayetteville, West Virginia area. And Darren McGuffin hopes to get this as a tape on the New River Network sometime tonight or tomorrow morning, depending on how they deal with that power issue at the company he's working with. But for those of you who are with us or will watch us live, we're so pleased to have you with us. Always enjoy getting ready for and doing this show. We have a great show tonight featuring KEVIN Johnston, who is the new director of the Varsity Club. We're very excited about that, getting to know him, and I think you will too. KEVIN will describe what the Varsity Club is and his plans for it. This is a real critical job because it connects the diverse alumni, athletes, student athletes, graduated and no longer at West Virginia, back to the university. And so it's really, really critical. Many of the players we've had have talked about the Varsity Club over the years so that we've been on air, and we know how important it is. And we've got plenty to talk about tonight with respect to the appointment. I shouldn't be smiling because we've gone through hell as Mountaineer fans, haven't we? With the basketball team not making the NCAA, and then with our coach leaving for Indiana. Now Indiana has two former Mountaineers with Signetti, who played quarterback at West Virginia, now DeVries, who coached at West Virginia. Kevin and I were talking about before the show. It's a lot like what Michigan did about a decade or so ago with John Beilein and also Rich Rod, and now Rich Rod is back. So it's amazing what happens in terms of these things. We'll talk about the women's basketball team. Their season ended, unfortunately, and we'll talk about that. A lot to be really happy about and satisfied. The ending wasn't one of those highs, but a lot of great things the women did on the basketball court this year. And then obviously we've got the baseball team that's going great guns. Won again, shut out Marshall yesterday. And they're getting ready to head out to Utah to play BYU, actually in a series that starts on Thursday and then runs through Saturday. And then a couple big games next week before they play in the Big 12 at Ohio State and then home against the Pitt Panthers. And the Pitt Panthers are better than they have been for a while in baseball. So we'll talk about that later. And I'm producing the show tonight, so it's good to see Kelly, rather. How you doing, Kelly? Good to see you directly. We don't have a direct connection on the simulcast, and so what I usually do is have to have my handheld as we're on when Darren McGuffin is producing the show for New River Network, and I'm on the YouTube and responding to people on the YouTube, and so now I can do that directly because we're using our Voice of College Football platform tonight. So, but without further ado, what I'd like to do before we get to Kevin, let me see what I do with my phone here. Many of you, not many of you, a lot of you know Mike Dunlap, and you know and love him, and you know the issues that Mike has had with health, and God bless him. He's gone through hell just like Greg had a serious health scare. And many of us were concerned we would lose Mike. And actually, he had a series of issues that included having to have part of his foot amputated. He's out of the hospital now. He's in a home that's taking care of him. It's a rehab facility in West Virginia. And so we were going to run him through our regular system when we thought that this program would be produced through the New River Network. I'm going to use the old-fashioned way. I'm going to give Mike a call on my phone and then put the phone up to the microphone. Hopefully you can. I hope you can hear it. And Mike wants to say hello, give you a short update in terms of how things are going for him, and then he wants to thank everybody for their support. So if everything goes the way I hope it does, I'm going to push this button, and I'm going to push this button, and put this all the way up, and see if we can get Mike on the phone. Now he's got to answer it. Can't talk to him. I just talked to him a few minutes ago. If not, we'll try again later because you never know.
Your call has been forwarded to voicemail.
That's
The
not
person
Mike.
you're trying to reach is not available. At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up.
I know that woman too. She's on everybody's phone. I don't know how that happens, but she's everywhere. But we'll get Mike. We'll get Mike later after we've had a chance to talk with Kevin. And what I'll do right now, actually, is I'm going to bring you in magically. Kevin is going to appear on the screen. It's just I don't know how it happens, but with a push of a button, there's Mr. Don't call me Johnson, call me Johnston.
Yes, sir.
Good to see you. Good to see you, buddy. I tell you, I was mentioning to you, I've talked with football players, for other athletes, and folks, fans, and they are so happy to have you in that seat.
Well, I appreciate that. They are the ones that I'm here to make happy and to make sure that they understand that they always have a home to come back to, and they were a big part of building us to where we are and beyond. Uh, decade over decade makes the next one better. You know, from uh, from Coach Nealon's crew to even from Coach Bowden's crew, from Coach Nealon's through Rich the first time, through Coach Holgerson and Coach Brown, and where we are now with Rich again, and then all the other great sports that we have going here through the basketball coaches that I worked with, like Coach Catlett and Coach Beeline, Coach Huggins for a year I was with him, and then what we've had the last few years. So we just need to make sure that all these athletes, regardless of the sport, understand that this is home to them. We appreciate the blood, sweat, tears, and time that they dedicated to uh, WVU in the state of West Virginia, and and we want to welcome them back. So I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to get on here and meet with you and chat with you and kind of get it out there that they always have a home to come back to.
Those are exactly the right words that I know everyone wants to hear. And you and I were talking before, in getting to know you, those aren't just words giving a speech. I mean, you feel them. You're a
Yeah,
mountaineer. You're a true mountaineer, and so you feel this in your heart. It's in your soul. And I shouldn't say I don't want to leave with a negative. Um, there are positions at the university that are important, many of which are behind the scenes. The head football coach, that's a face of the program.
sure.
Position coaches, and there are others. But the position you hold is really critical because, and I would argue, especially in today's world, which is a networked world. We see that
Mhm.
obviously with social media. The
Yeah.
connections between a home office and all the people everywhere, not only in the state of West Virginia, but Mike now is calling me, and that's not working. So, Mike, wait, he's got to come later. I call you. So, anyway, but that's a good sign. That means he's doing really well if he's calling
Right,
me.
right.
Anyway, uh,
Do you want to, if you want to let him know that you'll call him right back, do whatever
yeah,
you need to do.
well, maybe what we do is just bring him in
Sure, whatever you
because
want to do.
he's. Hey, Mike, you
Frank, I'm on
there?
your show.
Mike, I called you and you didn't answer, and now we've gone on to President Trump, and you want to get on the same. You want to get on the same show with President Trump? I'll tell you, Mike.
Well, if I had to, I was taking care of some medical things.
I know. I'm just kidding. Kevin, can you hear him? Okay.
I can hear him just fine. Yep.
Okay, great. Mike, I was just saying that so many people love you and have been concerned about you with your illness, and it's just fantastic that you are well enough to be able to spend a few minutes with us. So tell us how you're doing and anything else that you want to do. I know you want to thank all the friends and others who have contacted you, but just give us an update.
Yeah, Frank, I want to thank you and Greg and all my friends and family and teammates and EMS workers, nurses. I love my nurses. This has been a close call. I developed an infection which caused me to have a toe amputated, which caused me to have, furthermore, part of my leg amputated. So, but I'm in great spirits. My wife, my mother keep me going, and of course you and Greg, and just so many people that if you know, people may not think that they have friends out there or people room for them, but they do. And I'm the luckiest guy uh, to be able to receive calls and pick up a phone and call guys. I'm not going to names, but you know who they are. That normally, would not take the time of day. Well, I shouldn't say that. That normally wouldn't be on everybody's radar. How's that?
There you go.
And so I feel very fortunate to have that source. Again, you and I have been in close contact since this whole incident happened, and it's I'm very fortunate. Very fortunate I didn't lose another kidney. Very fortunate I didn't play. But I didn't want to. You kept telling me whenever you're ready, you're ready, you're ready. Well, I'm ready. I want to come back and get that message out there. So many people have helped me financially. This has been a great burden on my family. Well, we're hanging in there. We're tough. And, I will tell this. It almost tickles me to talk to Coach Neal. And every time I tell him something else has happened, he's like, geez, whiz, Mike. Got 9 lives. How many you got? So, little things like that keep me going.
Yeah.
And, of course, great support system, great support. Dave Ogden and Tim Agee and all those guys, just fortunate to have them in my corner.
Well, I'll tell you what, and we're so pleased to have KEVIN Johnston with us tonight, Varsity Club, as I mentioned to you. And KEVIN, we've all been through situations with family members, perhaps even ourselves, when you get into these serious illnesses, and there's a lot of up and down to it. And sometimes the downs last a long time. And for those of you who don't know, it started really with Mike falling at home in his shower, and one thing led to another, and there was a series of complications. And so it's so good that you're back, and we're so pleased that you're able to join us. And Mike's exactly right. I said we're here for you as soon as you feel you're up to talking to the audience, and it's really we're pleased that it's happened right now, Mike. We're gonna have to move on with the show, Mike. Any final comments you want to make to the folks out there?
Just appreciate it. Appreciate everything. Kevin, you got a big job ahead of you. The players, the Varsity Club is a hard road to hoe, but this man, you can do it.
We're gonna be there, Mike, and the Mountaineers are behind you. And one thing, I grew up in small town West Virginia, and I know that West Virginians respond to tragedy when somebody needs it. So
Yeah,
we've always got each other's back. So it's good to hear Mike's voice, and glad to hear he's doing a little bit better, and people will get him through it. We'll be all right.
that's right. And I'll tell you what, we talked about networking. A person who's unbelievably networked,
Yeah,
certainly with the players he played with back in the
yeah,
80s, but beyond that. And we've had so many people on the show, Mark Parsons, and I put their photos up. Mark and Mike
yeah.
are assistant producers. They do such a tremendous job in terms of not only locating, but oftentimes making the first overture to "Would you like to be on the show?"
Right.
And you're one of them, and we appreciate that. So, talk a bit about KEVIN, about the sort of the, not to get into the job description, so to speak, but that's essentially what it is. What the
Yeah.
job involves, because it cuts across all varsity sports, correct?
Correct. Correct. I like to say it's basically alumni relations with all of the former student athletes here. To make them understand and to help them understand that they're welcome to come back. It's any time that they want to come, it's their homecoming. We're working on things right now as far as rounding up guys for the spring game. And we have We have a baseball reunion coming up in May, May 2nd to the 4th. So not only are we having our normal traditional baseball alumni weekend, but we're also honoring the 1985 team that went to the NCAA regional.
Mm,
So, there are things that we want to do to make sure that they understand that we haven't forgotten their contribution to the athletic department, the university, and the state. And so, it's my job and it's my responsibility to help them understand that they, like I said, always have a home. And then they help build this to where it is. And what they've done is taking us to where we're going as well. So, that's basically, in my opinion, the responsibility of the job, the communication, the being here for when they need us, because at one point we needed them to perform, and we want them to come back and enjoy the facilities. Now, I was and we'll get into this a little bit. It was pretty neat this past basketball season. I don't know if y'all remember the name Levon Lamb,
mm,
but Levon played in the '90s, and it's the first time he had come back. And I brought him down on the floor, and we were talking, and he's like, this place is crazy. The scoreboard, the things that the wrapping we have around the Coliseum now with the all the color and the things that have happened at the Coliseum from the last time that he was here. It's important for them to see that, see how far we've come since they were here, and I feel like that's what I was put here to do, to get the oohs and ahs from them in a positive way, and to
mhm.
make them feel like they're still part of what they helped build.
Yeah, and you're the first non-football person, if I'm correct, in
That's
the
correct.
job. And we've got a little graphic here I can show up that just gives you an idea of and Mike's right, the scope of it. The varsity club is not the title. Sometimes organizations have titles that are very clear about what the job involves.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
varsity club is not one of those. So here's the definition: it's a membership and engagement between the athletic department and its former student athletes working across all 18 varsity sports, men and women. All student athlete alumni events will run through the varsity club, and Johnston will direct, organize, and plan and schedule and implement reunions and special, as you mentioned, reunions, special anniversary celebrations. That's a mouthful, but it is the as you described in that story, it is a gateway to the university,
For
and
sure.
it's a swinging gate too because it's also the university reaching out. It's both in reach and outreach, which is so critical because you may or may not know I'm working on a book right now on Daryl Prue, who was an All-American,
I know
excuse
Daryl
me,
very well. Yeah.
yeah, a Hall of Famer. He was a high school All-American. He's a WVU All-American, Hall of Famer rather. And we talk all the time about coming back to campus and the folks he's going to see. He played for Coach Catlett, and so there's
Yep.
a tremendous connection there still
Correct.
with
Yeah.
Coach Catlett, as you heard Mike talk about Coach Nealon. And it's they play for 3 or 4 years, let's say, but you're a Mountaineer for a lifetime, and that's really your job is to make sure that they're connected to the university, feel a part of the university, they're heard, and that the programs that emerge and are sustained meet their needs, and then they will say positive things, and it becomes a real loop, a very positive loop.
Correct. Yeah. I think it helps me understand it a little bit because, like we said pre-show, I've been a member of the varsity club for years. I was a student manager for men's basketball under Coach Catlett. I got I got hired as a graduate assistant, and then I got hired full time as assistant equipment manager over varsity sports. So I worked with everything but football. So I feel like the relationships that I made through those 14 years that I was here, as far as being an undergrad, a graduate student, and an employee, I feel like those relationships are really going to help me as far as engaging some of the other student athletes. And, we had spoken about how prominent football is in the varsity club, as it should be. Football is football, and they also have the most alums. Like we said, football will graduate 17 to 25 a year, where you get sports like wrestling, volleyball, basketball, soccer, and those. they may graduate 2 to 7. So it's also our most prominent amount of alums. So, but I want to shorten that gap. Right now, it's very lopsided, and my goal is to get it kind of lopsided. I'd rather it be in that 65-35 range in a percentage than the current rate it's at, which is probably between 85 and 90.
Hmm.
Not that football, nothing will change with football. Actually, I hope it stays the same or gets better. That's my dream for football. I don't want things to
Hmm.
stay status quo. I want them to get better. Um, but my goal is to really improve the other sports that are so vital to what has happened here. Um, I was fortunate enough to be around basketball a lot through some great years. Um, I was on the Sweet 16 team with Coach Catlett when we beat Cincinnati and Boise, Idaho. I was with them. I was here during the Beeline era, 05, 06, 07, where Elite Eight, Sweet 16, NIT championship. So, and then, but also we've had great success in women's soccer. They played for the national championship. Our men's soccer has qualified for the College Cup. The rifle team is a story in its own. Wrestling has All Americans all the time. It's just we have such a rich and historic tradition in all of our sports here that they all need to be honored and they all need to be recognized for their accomplishments. Um, so that's my goal is to make sure that all of them have that recognition and that they deserve because it is not easy being a student athlete. I can tell you that from what I've watched them go through as a student manager and being a part of it on the inside. A lot of people say I could do this. No, you can't. No, you cannot.
Yeah.
It takes a special, not only physical person, but mentally, it is absolutely draining because of finding time to study, finding time to treat your body right, and it gets harder and harder every year, in my opinion.
That's right.
Um, so, we really need to appreciate what these student athletes have done as people and as students and as athletes because it is not easy. It is not easy. It's working a full time job and being a student. So, yeah, it's just
Yeah.
I think it helps that I understand that.
Yeah, I mean, you have experience and you've seen it firsthand, and I think you're absolutely correct. Everything you've said in that last point, it's getting more difficult. And one of the things that I think is extremely important in the book I'm working on now, and talking with players who played at West Virginia and other schools too, is that no college is for everybody. Michigan's not for everybody. West Virginia's not for everybody. People have to feel that it's the right place for them.
Oh, it's their
And
home for it's their home. It's their home for
exactly.
however long they're here. Yeah, it's their
And,
home.
and everything you talked about in terms of fitting everything into their schedule is so much easier if you feel you're doing it from a home base.
Right.
And that leads me to an observation too, as you were talking. You know, you talked about that you're in alumni relations, but you're also in recruiting. When you think about the kinds of things you're doing and will do, and the relationships you will establish and deepen with the folks you already know, and new relationships with
Yeah.
athletes, and they're feeling that they're heard, the programs are meeting their needs. They go out and they say positive things about WVU. You might want to look at West Virginia. Morgantown might be the right place for you, and you're going to play a role in that. And that's really important because Morgantown isn't for everyone, and a lot of people don't know about Morgantown.
Yeah.
Many people will tell you that I didn't know that. They experience it and they say, wow, I had no idea. And then
Yeah.
they begin to talk with other people too. And so all of this, I think, is really contributes to a stronger set of bonds, both academically and
Yeah.
certainly athletically. So, what are some of you mentioned one thing? What are some of the other things that you've got? You just started your job. fact, you gave up your day job as in the insurance industry, correct? To
Right.
take this,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. The
And so,
last year, last year was a little tiring for me. I loved the company I worked with. They were fantastic people. It was wonderful, but I spent probably 135 nights in a hotel last year.
oh,
That's not an easy lifestyle. And, things just came together, just extremely blessed. And the timing was great and things just fell into place. And I'm just extremely happy here. It felt like home, from the very beginning. So it's just
yeah.
it's where I'm comfortable and happy and have a passion for really have a passion for being here.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Any of the irons in the fire right now that you want to talk about, or any general ideas that you're playing around with that you'd feel comfortable communicating publicly?
Like we said, we do have the baseball reunion coming up in May. Um, we have the spring game next weekend, or the Golden Blue Spring Showcase. They're calling it next weekend, so we do have some people that are scheduled to come in for that. Be looking for some things this fall. As far as I don't really want to get into announcing any of
Sure.
those things right now, but be looking for some things around some home games with some prominent teams that that are in our past that we're going to honor. I feel like we'll probably do something for Steve Slayton being inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame this year.
Hmm.
So I'm sure we'll welcome him back this fall. But yeah, we do have some irons in the fire. It's just I don't really want to get into a whole lot of it right now
Oh, sure.
until things are a little more cast in stone and we get things scheduled and work on that. So, but if you'd like me to come on in the summer and talk about some things we have coming up, I would have no problem with that. Once, especially we get closer to football and some things are starting to fall into place a little bit more, be no problem at all.
Well, great. We'd love to do that. And also, in between, don't hesitate to toss us stuff that you'd
Appreciate
like
it.
us to promote. Be happy to do that
Appreciate
because it
that.
is an important job. I mean, it's as I said, and this is one of the things that I've talked with a lot of people about. And the parallel I think is to we see the teams play. Let's say the football team play on Saturday, but a lot goes into getting that team ready for Saturday that we don't see, and that applies to your job too. There's a lot of
Yeah.
things that we don't see,
Yeah.
and then we see certain things, and I think people are excited. The idea of bringing people back, particularly the teams that have excelled, individual athletes who've excelled.
Yeah.
So it makes you feel good. It brings back memories of games you've seen, of situations you were involved in. I mean, my wife Kathy and I still remember our days way back when we were at Old Mountaineer Field a long time ago. And those days don't leave you. And when
Right.
you have opportunities to connect to that past, because obviously each one of us has a biography, it just makes you proud and glad to be a mountaineer. I mean that's in a way that's sort of your tagline. Glad and proud to be a mountaineer.
Yeah, once a mountaineer, always a mountaineer, and we want to make
That's
sure
right.
that if we're going to advertise it, we need to live it.
That's
So
right. Yeah.
yeah, so it's kind of a dream for me to be in this position, to be honest with you. So I'm
Yeah.
very thankful and blessed for this opportunity.
Great. Well, we're so pleased too.
Thank
And
you.
any final comments you want to make?
No, I really appreciate it. I'm very excited about the trajectory of this athletic department. I'm excited about the new beginnings in basketball and the new beginnings in football, and the things that the department as a whole has going on are really great. So I'm going to use that leverage to get some people back on campus, some of the legends that people have heard of that maybe haven't been back for a while, and to welcome them home. And that's kind of it. But I appreciate the opportunity to get on, say hello, meet some people in the state now, and get my face out there. If anyone needs anything or has any ideas, no problem. Let's talk. So, but yeah, that's kind of it. And I appreciate you, Frank, and the rest of your team for putting this together. And let me know if I can do anything.
Well, thank you. And if we're going to be on the road next Saturday, talk about the the showcase that's coming up. We're going to be at Kegler's at
Oh,
starting
nice.
at 3 o'clock, doing a live remote. Greg will be there, and so will Darren, and I'll be there too. So, and
Which
hopefully,
day? Which day?
Saturday.
Oh,
We're going
so
to be
you'll
there.
be there. You'll be there
Yeah,
after the showcase then.
we'll be there at 3 o'clock
Okay.
on Saturday. And if everything goes well, Daryl Prue will be there too. We're going to start to promote the book that I'm writing with Daryl that should be out early 2026. So hopefully Daryl will come over from Washington D.C. And
Yeah.
so if you're around, we're going to be doing our show live from 3 to 6 on Saturday the 5th. That'll be fun.
I will stop by after the spring game or
Fantastic.
the showcase. I will stop by.
Well, Kevin, you're everything people said you were.
I appreciate that.
And
Thank you.
I can't say that about myself because then it's a negative thing. Frank Fear. But Kevin's everything that. One of the things I've been telling people is, Kevin may not be a household word now, a name now, but you just watch. He's going to be a household name, and you've certainly given every indication that's going to happen. So,
Appreciate that so
Kevin,
much.
you take care. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody. Let's go Mountaineers.
You got it. You
All
got
right.
it. Well, I'll tell you what, we wanted to have him on, and we thank Mark Parsons for making that possible, making the overture that we followed up with. And we're going to spend the rest of our time. It looks like I'm going to be doing this solo. And again, for people who are expecting to see the show on the New River Network, either on cable, Facebook, Roku, and so on, it'll be available. But after the power issues in Fayetteville West Virginia get taken care of. What I want to do tonight, and Greg and I would have done this together, but unfortunately he's not with us, is we'll go through the Mountaineer sports as we have it right now. And if people want to chime in, since I'm at the controls, I can put your comments up. Obviously, the big news is the basketball situation and that search. And I'm going to back off from talking basketball. And Kevin and I we're talking about this before the show. And I'm going to talk about executive leadership and management, no matter the field. And I think, at least from my perspective, it's really important to think about Ren Baker, not just as an athletic director, but as a person who has responsibility essentially for a corporation. Now, obviously, we all had to deal with this trauma of West Virginia not getting into the big dance. That was bad enough. And we could hardly do a pirouette on that before we heard rumors that our basketball coach was probably going to go to Iowa. Then we had a very brief relief that, no, he's not going to Iowa. And then lickety split, he says he's going to be a Hoosier and he's going to Indiana. Now I want you to put yourself in Ren Baker's situation, and look at that, Esther Randall. God bless you, Esther. How are you doing? You are just a good person, and I'll tell you, she is the mother of Dale Wolfley. Esther, God bless you. It's so good to see you in there, and remembering. Of course, I remember. We exchange texts. We've talked on the phone, and all the condolences, losing another son. Mr. Steelers. It's just I can't even imagine what you're going through. So, God bless you. We appreciate your being here. But to continue, what I was saying is that Ren is a really good administrator. He went through this before when we lost our women's basketball coach after 1 year. She left for Minnesota, another Big Ten school. And he went out and got Mark Kellogg, who's an outstanding coach. And so he's been through this before. The issue here, though, from a management and leadership perspective is it came out of the blue. He may have had an inkling of it, but I viewed it as sort of being kicked in the teeth. All of a sudden I have a coach, then all of a sudden I don't. And you can talk all you want about, well, that's the nature of the industry these days. But the bottom line is it's not happening to the industry. It's happening to me right now. And I can tell you the way I was when I was in administrative roles. And that is when you have something like that happens when you think you have a deep relationship, when you're working collaboratively, and he even said, we were ready to make a counteroffer, never got the chance. Trust becomes extremely important. Because when you think about it, he established a relationship with Coach DeVries. He didn't have a deep relationship beforehand, but he does have a relationship with Ross Hodge. And so I, for one, am not surprised that he contacted a number of people who are good basketball-wise. But when the smoke cleared, he hired a person that he knows, he trusts, he's had experience with him, North Texas. And as a consequence, that, from an executive management point of view, is a relief, because what you can't do, two times too many, when a coach comes and leaves after a year in a major sport, women's basketball and now men's basketball, just went through a search to replace Neil Brown in football. I know it's part of the job, but the circumstances are such that he's got a really good coach, and if you look at it on the basketball profile, Ross Hodge is young. He's 44 years old. He's won 67% of his games as what I would call an upper mid-major coach at North Texas. 86% of his games, almost 90% in junior college. He lost a lot of players from last year's team to major schools, which happens all the time. Major schools look to the upper and lower mid-majors to replenish and to add to their bench. And he lost, I think, 3 players, including one to St. John's. And he was able to replace them, just as the coach at Drake was able to do. Brought in players from lower level to replenish the players that left, including obviously DeVries' son. And so, and he's also had good mentoring. I always say, and you've heard me say this before, but you don't hire coaches only. You hire coaches that come from a tree, come from programs. I keep on telling folks, when you look at Don Nealon, who was here for for multiple decades, he is in the Bo Schembechler tree. He came from Michigan. And so you got a lot of Michigan when you got Don Nealon, and that toughness showed through from day one. And he had an opportunity, Ross Hodge had a chance to work with Larry Eustace, who did a hell of a job at Iowa State, then went to Colorado State. I think there was a third school in there. And also Grant McCausland, who was at North Texas State, but now is doing a heck of a job. I keep on telling people, watch Texas Tech. They've got that dynamic duo there, led by Toppin, the player of the year, JT Toppin. Don't count out Texas Tech from getting to the Final Four. They're just, they just dismantled Drake. Drake really didn't have a chance. It was a close game, but my God, I think they had 50 points, the two big guns for there. And so, the bottom line is, I think it's a good hire. I'm sure that Ren Baker is relieved. The bottom line is that I look to people I admire, like Fran Fraschilla, and if you've read his tweets or his Facebook posts, all very, very positive, saying this is a young, up and coming coach, and he was very, very blunt, saying, I don't see this guy coming and starting to look around for other jobs when he gets into Morgantown. He'll be able to establish himself. I know we talked last week about other possibilities, but at the end of the day, trust is extremely important when you've been through a traumatic experience. Trauma may be too strong, but at least it's I think it's a good situation. And now, as we always do, and I think Mark Parsons puts it very well here, you have to have faith in Ren. He's done extremely well in his hires so far. You watch the volleyball team with Jen as the head coach. We'll have her on again. We had her on last year. And they're going to come back. And Mark, obviously, will talk about the women's basketball team in a minute. The biggest challenge right now is it's happening all over the country, and that the portal has opened. It's already opened, even though March Madness, the national championship, hasn't occurred, and we've already lost I mean, I think there are 8 players that were on the roster. These are 8 players either graduated or have already hit the portal. So we're in a situation where the roster is going to have to be rebuilt pretty significantly, understandably, because we had 3 outstanding recruits. Hopefully, one or more may still come, but they have to know who they're playing for. And so I think our best shot is the West Virginia kid, but we had 2 of the West Coast kids who left. Let's just see if we can reel them in. And I'm sure they're being approached by Ross Hodge. By the way, if you haven't heard, I asked the question first. I couldn't get the answer. Then I finally got the answer. North Texas won last night. They're in the NIT, and they beat Oklahoma State at Oklahoma State. And now they're in the semifinal. And it has been announced by North Texas State that Coach Hodge will stay with the team as long as North Texas State is in the NIT. And so if that's the case, and they go to the final, the NIT sequences it with the NCAA. The championship game, I think, is like the 3rd of April. I think it's next Thursday. And so it's going to be a while before I think we see Coach Hodge in Morgantown. There'll be obviously there's going to be a conference. We'll have an opportunity to hear him speak. We'll hear Ren. Tony Caridi will introduce both of them, and we just did that actually about a year ago. And hopefully this one is going to be a keeper. What we need, and I'm speaking personally here, is another Gail Catlett who stays for the rest of his career and has a great career while he's at it. Keeping with basketball, let's talk about the women's basketball team. And if you feel as I do, you just feel terrible for those seniors. You think of Kylie Blackston and JJ, and you think of Kaya Watson, 3 players who just contributed so much to the women Mountaineers this year. Had a great year. I think they lost like 7 or 8 games, I think, all year long. Some exciting games, some hiccups on the road, but they really performed at home, had some big wins at home. They just had a bad game. And the sad thing about it is, I didn't think North Carolina was all that strong. They were at home, which made a huge difference. We clawed back 36-35. Just when you think they've turned the corner and they're going to scoot and win the game, the bottom fell out and they just couldn't hit. I got the numbers here: 24% from the field, 9.5% from 3-point. They were out rebounded by 14 bounds. They had UNC had 14 more fast break points. It just wasn't their night. And the reason I feel terrible is that that's the last game. And for that, when you think of all the success that the seniors had to go out that way, and you can't go back, there's no redo. It's not like, let's say, a football player that has a bad bowl game, but the person's a junior and can come back the next year. That's just not going to happen. But, they've got good players. My wife, Kathy, knows because I sing her praises all the time. Jordan Harrison, who came from Oklahoma City, and Sam Houston, where Mark Kellogg was the head coach. You got Sydney Shaw, who came from Miami. You've got Jordan Thomas, who's a freshman who came from Texas. And that's the other thing about the Lady Mountaineers. You've got a national team there. Mark Kellogg, whom I've met, he's a terrific coach. Talk about faith in Ren. Got to have faith in Mark, and it makes sense. He hit the ground running as soon as he got here from Sam Houston. He's done a terrific job, and he recruits nationally, and he'll continue to do that. And the Mountaineers will be there. I don't think there's any question about that. The Mountaineers will be there again, and congratulations to we got Esther back. God bless you. That's right. Mom's heart does grieve, absolutely, and we grieve with you, Esther. It was I can speak for others. What a blessing it has been for us to get to know those boys. I don't know Ron, but I know of Ron, and everybody who's played with him said this guy was just a role model, a mentor, and helped me become the player I needed to be. And, Wolf, talk about a true mountaineer. I wrote that article about what it means to be a true mountaineer. And I asked people what a true mountaineer was, and using Dale as the example. And, we don't use that phrase lightly. Not everybody is a true mountaineer, and that's why there is that phrase. And Esther raised two of her boys to be true mountaineers. Craig went to Syracuse. I was born in Syracuse, so that's okay. I was a Syracuse fan when I was growing up, obviously before coming to Morgantown, so that's fine. But it's just Wolfley name will last forever. No question about that. Let's talk about the baseball team. This is very interesting to me because this team, as you know, has come out of the chute, and it's come out of the chute fast. Beating Marshall yesterday, I think it was 7-0. It's now 20-3. They have not lost away from Morgantown. They're 12-0. There are only a few teams in the country that have better records than 20-3, and they're all in the SEC: Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, and Arkansas. Their RPI is 27. That's up from 31. The other thing that's interesting is there is competition in the Big 12. They're 2-2 in the Big 12, and the reason for that, they went down and played one game against Oklahoma State because of all the wind and fires down there. They couldn't play all three. They'll play them later. But they played Arizona. Arizona has the highest RPI in the Big 12 at number 18. So they lost 2 out of 3 last weekend, should have won 2 out of 3. One of the big issues for them, and it happens to a lot of college teams, is the big inning. That happened when they lost to Kennesaw State, a big inning. It happened twice against Arizona. They were scooting along 4-3 the other day against Arizona, and all of a sudden, I think it was a 6 or 7 or 8 spot, and the game's out of reach. That's something that they're going to have to watch. But the good news is I looked at the Big 12 stats today, and guess who's number 1 in pitching? It's West Virginia in the Big 12. So despite those big innings when the pitching fails, the consistency is there. They have an ERA of 3.14, which is number 1 in the Big 12. And guess who's number 2 in the Big 12 in hitting? And that's the West Virginia Mountaineers. They're averaging their entire lineup over 300, 309, 310. And so they're in the top 10 in fielding too. They're number 10. This is a good team. They're going to go out and play BYU this weekend. I mentioned it earlier. It's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Thursday night, Friday night, and then Saturday during the day. I think that's correct. I have this. At least I thought here it is. 8:30 on Thursday, 8:30 on Friday. I was looking at the wrong line, and 3:30 on Saturday. Now, the thing that I would say about BYU is that they have an RPI of 75 and a record of 13-9. So the Mountaineers will be favored to take that series because you've got an RPI of 27 versus an RPI of that's much higher, of 75, as I mentioned. Then next week, and I brought it up a little bit at the beginning, it's going to be a very interesting week because they come right back from Provo, and then they travel to Ohio State on Tuesday. Now, what's interesting is I just assumed Ohio State would have a strong baseball team this year. They're struggling. They're 6-15 as a team with an RPI of 207. So again, the Mountaineers will be favored to win that game on Tuesday. It's going to be in Columbus. I understand that. I've seen on Facebook people talking about getting in the car and going to that game. That would be a great game. But clearly the Mountaineers are on a roll. They're going to be road weary because this will be their 4th game from Thursday to Tuesday. Then they come home and play Pitt. And the thing that's interesting about Pitt, they play Pitt on Wednesday. This is one of the better Pitt teams. Their RPI is 35, so it's very close to the Mountaineers, although the record is 15-9. And the Mountaineers, as I mentioned, is 20-3. But We'll play a home and home series with Pitt as we will with Penn State. Penn State's going to be, we'll play Penn State the following week. But next week, it's going to be exciting. At Ohio State on Tuesday, home against Pitt on Wednesday, and then a big series against Utah over the weekend, next weekend in Morgantown. And again, Utah is another team that's struggling a bit. They're 13-10 with an 85 RPI. So we're playing BYU and Utah back to back gives the Mountaineers an opportunity to improve significantly with 6 games there, to improve that 2-2 level 2-2 Big 12 record. And again, RPI is really critical, but the record is critical too in terms of seeding for the Big 12 tournament. So let's keep our fingers crossed there. And they're an exciting team to watch. Those games, by the way, are almost all of them are on ESPN Plus. The game at Ohio State is not. It's going to be on Big Ten Plus, not the Big Ten Network, but they have a Plus channel. So most of us won't be able to watch the Ohio State game unless you subscribe to Big Ten Plus. But the BYU games will be on ESPN Plus, and then the game against Pitt will be too. So let's turn to football, huh? It was interesting. If any of you watched the weekly press conference with Rich Rod, if you compared it to press conferences, not just Coach Brown, but any coach, usually what you would expect, spring practice, it's going to be all talking about players. It's going to be players, positions, depth, where we've got to get stronger, who's fastest out there, what does our kick team look like, what does our secondary look like, what about our wide receivers room, our running back room, what's the quarterback. But given what we're dealing with the NCAA, it's what I describe as brave new world. Almost the entire 25 minutes of Rich Rod's press conference was about the issues that are associated with building a team in the nil revenue sharing poaching era. And as you know, most schools a good number of schools are not having spring games for fear that as soon as the second portal opens, that a coach will see a running back or a center or a linebacker and make an offer. And so what you're seeing more and more is, and I think you'll see this on the field next Saturday, the 5th, is that you're going to see skill drills. You're going to see quasi scrimmaging, and I wouldn't even call it quasi. They're going to keep it under wraps. The team will be there. He'll be there. But there will be a lot of other things, music, and a lot of other celebrations. Free admission, encouraging everyone to make a donation to the Children's Hospital, WVU Hospitals. But it's a different era. In fact, you may have read or heard that Oklahoma State has made the proposal that rather than having a spring game, they'd like to essentially scrimmage the University of Oklahoma twice this spring, one at home and one in Norman. Obviously, the NCAA doesn't approve that, so they'd have to approve it to make it happen. But Prime has proposed this a couple of weeks ago. He proposed it, that why don't we have teams play each other? But again, given the current circumstances where there's so much concern, I mean, Rich Rod addressed it a number of times. Money plays a big factor, and he made the point that he doesn't. If a kid is only concerned about the money, Morgantown's not the right place for that person. Money's important, obviously, but competition, wanting to play, goes back to the Wolfleys. You gotta feel it. You gotta have it in the heart. You've got to have the fire in the belly. That's what you need, and then the money's on top of that. The other thing he talked about for about the third time is the pain that he's going to have to go through. That you've got 105 capped limits, and right now, and I've got it written down. He said, right now, from now until the 5th of April, with the showcase, you got show me what you can do. These players have to show him what he can do, and what they can do to be able to make this roster, because he's going to have to make cuts. He fully intends, as soon as the portal opens again, second portal, later in April, early May, I can't remember exactly the dates, he's making a list of those players and positions at other schools he's going to have to go after. And so you're going to see a lot of churn still before we get to the point where we can say, this is what our starting lineup looks like, and here's what our two deep look like on both sides of the ball. He did talk about on Tuesday during his press conference. He talked a bit more about the running back room than others, naming players. He's pleased with what's there because he's got the size and the speed there, but still he's looking to strengthen across all of his areas. And one of the points, and I'll close with this, he said, it's too late. I'll use a word that he didn't use. I'll start with his word. He said, I hate to see these football players be viewed as objects. I would use the word commodities, where you would trade. I'm at this school this year, I'm at that school the next year. And so he's really hoping that there's the NCAA, some sanity. In fact, he made the point multiple times. Why do we have to have why do we have to have portals twice a year? The portal open twice a year. Why can't there just be one? And I understand that from a coach's point of view. What he's really saying is that, make my life easier. I need some stability here so I know what I'm working with. And you can't blame him. And I think with the fans too. When I look back at shows that we did last year at this time compared to now, there was more stability in the program, so we could go through the rooms and get a much better feel. Same token, flip it. It's very difficult to say, okay, here's how Utah stacks up next year. Or here's how Oklahoma stacks up next year. We don't know. We really won't know. I wouldn't want to be on a staff of those football magazines where they have to make their picks, because then who's going to be on the roster? It's just a lot of churn, and it makes a big difference. The other thing I would say, and I'll absolutely close with this before we talk about next week, is that you've got a situation with the football team where I just think it just emphasizes the importance of being patient. It's like with the basketball search. We wanted Ren to name someone. We saw all these schools picking up, Texas fires a coach and the next day someone's hired. Pitino loses to Michigan State, and within a couple of days he's appointed the Xavier coach. But I think we're in times where we just have to be patient to see how things shake out. But what I do, especially in turbulent times, I tend to look at the comments that people are making on social media and on YouTube. And you can do this, you can verify what I'm about to say. Go to the YouTube and watch any of his press conferences, and then read the comments that fans are making. And you talk about, Mark Parsons talking about in Ren we trust, and I agree with him. In Rich Rod you trust. A lot of very positive comments about his directness, plain speaking. He doesn't tell you what he thinks you want to hear. He tells you what's on his mind. And that authenticity and directness is really important, because there's so much spin that's going on. So that's welcome. Now, what I want to do before we sign off here, it's almost 8:00, is talk about next week, because next week is going to be different. And again, I want to say how much we appreciated having Kevin with us. We're going to have him back. I hope you feel the way I do, that West Virginia is very lucky to have Kevin Johnston in the role that he's in. We're gonna great things will come. That's another great hire by the Ren Baker and his staff. But here's the deal for next week. There will be no 7:00 show on Wednesday the way we always have 7:00 shows on Wednesday. And there will be no program either on the Voice of College Football or the New River Network. And the reason we're going to do that, we're not going to have a show, is that we're going to be live on location after the spring showcase at Kegler's, and want to thank Jerry for having us there. And we're going to be there from 3 to 6 on Saturday, April 5th. Greg will be there. I'll be there. Mickey Plumley will be back with us, who's just moved back to West Virginia. Darren McGivern will be there, and we're going to have guests. And so that'll be live. So we'll put up a notice during the week to make sure people don't tune in on Wednesday. Next week, we're doing it not on Wednesday the 2nd, but on Saturday the 5th. And there's the promo for that, and there's Greg's face. And we miss him. We miss you tonight, Greg. I hope everything is okay. So we'll be simulcasting next week's show on Saturday, both on New River Network, and that is Facebook, it is YouTube, it is Roku, and it is also 2 channels on Optimum Cable. We're very pleased with that. We tend to get thousands of views each week on that, and we appreciate that. Kegler's will put this out so everybody has it next Saturday, the 5th, from 3 to 6. And for those of you who are in the Morgantown area, would like to stop by, I've talked with, this is an announcement I'm making right now, and that is that talk with the people, Sky at Barnes & Noble, great people there. We've worked with them before. They have copies of my first book, the 66 to 70 Mountaineers, the Band of Brothers. Copies will be available at Barnes & Noble next Friday night from 6 to 9 p.m., April 4th. So Friday from 6 to 9, we're going to be at Barnes & Noble, the University Town Center store. And if everything goes well, and I'll confirm it tomorrow or Friday, Daryl is going to be driving in from Washington so that we can begin the public conversation about the book that's half written now. I just sent the first half of the book to Daryl for him to look at. It's going to be entitled True Prue. And the reason it's titled that is that that's what he was called when he was growing up in Washington, D.C. On the court, he was called True Prue. You could always rely on him. But if people who know Daryl Prue know that subtitle fits too. He's unwavering. Just what you see is what you get. A great person. I've really gotten, through Dale Wolfley actually, gotten to know Daryl, and pleased that the next book is going to focus on Daryl, his life. And I can't tell you how much I've learned from writing this book, because I grew up in a small town and had no frame of reference for what metropolitan basketball in places like DC, Philadelphia, Baltimore, New York, and having a chance to research that, talk with many players that I watched in college. I didn't watch them in high school, but I watched when they became college players, and it's just amazing. And the connections that Daryl has with the biggest names of basketball in the 80s and 90s, it's just been a real treat getting to talk with them, hearing what they say about Daryl, and it's been a joy of a book to write. Very different from the other book. I enjoyed that. It was fantastic. This one has even more stories than the football book, than in many stories that people didn't know about, because it's just, unless you were there in Washington at the time, and you were in Morgantown in the mid to late 80s, you probably don't know about it. So it's really been great running down these stories. So again, next Friday, if you're around, please come to the University Town Center. Love to see you. Daryl will sign an autograph. And then the next day, on the 5th, we are going to be at Kegler's after the spring showcase from 3 to 6. Always good to get back to Morgantown and see everybody there. Always, it's just great for me to reconnect with people I knew back in the day and people I've met since I was there. And it's just looking forward to making a road trip back to Morgantown. So pleased that my son Frank Jr. is going to be joining us again for that, and Greg and Darren and Mickey and I look forward to next Saturday. So a little bit after 8, we want to thank Kevin Johnston again for just a fantastic interview, and we wish him the very best of luck. We know he'll do well. Mike Dunlap for giving us an update on what he's doing, and it's just so fantastic that he's doing better than he has been, because it was touch and go for a time. And so this is Frank Fear for Greg Christ and Darren McGuffin saying thank you so much for watching and being with us on Mountaineer Locker Room, either live or watching in the video vault. We'll see you next week. Take care, everybody.